All right, guys, welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I am your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. So in this episode, I actually want to kind of go over a really amazing person who who I wouldn't expect would be a business in this area, but it just somehow there's always a business in something. So this is just a very fascinating subject to me. And funny enough, I'll tell this little story. Is actually my stepmother, who happens to work with us, actually used to own a laundromat. Funny enough, but this is very interesting. But I do want to introduce you guys to a amazing CEO and founder. He's in charge of Laundromat Resource, which is all about how to handle things regarding laundromats and all that services and products. So I like to introduce you guys to Jordan. So Jordan, thank you so much for joining the show, man.
Hey, man, thank you for coming on the show. It is kind of funny that, here we are talking laundromats, but here we are talking laundromats.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off first, just for people who want to know a little bit more about you and what you do. So would you mind just, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then how you came out to this company and founding this company?
Yeah, it's a wild little ride. No straight lines in business, I don't think. So I was a pastor for 15 years, and youth pastor, and at that time, towards the end of that, I had young kids and a wife, and it was just kind of time to transition out of doing that as a job and trying to figure out what the next thing was. And for me, my genius idea of what we should do. So I live here in Southern California. We own our house here. Yeah. And I was like, why don't we rent out our house here in Southern California, take the money we have in the bank and go buy a condo on the beach in Hawaii. And, at least till our kids are school age. And I thought that was a great plan, a great idea. And my wife, on the other hand, was like, we should buy a laundromat. So we bought a laundromat and not a condo on the beach in Hawaii.
Wow.
And the reason behind that was she had a family friend who was working a high-tech job, working 70, 80 hours a week, but making good money. But he bought one laundromat and replaced that high-tech job and was working 5 to 10 hours a week, replaced his income there. So we're like, that sounds really great. Let's do that. So we went down that path. It did not work out that way for us. We made all kinds of mistakes. I had a lot of very expensive lessons to learn in this easy business of laundromats. And once I finally kind of did learn those lessons, I was like, man, nobody should ever have to learn those lessons the way that I learned them. I'll just help people and tell them the lessons that I learned, right? So I started a blog. And that blog turned into, man, writing's hard and takes a long time. So I'll do a YouTube channel. So I did a YouTube channel, and that kind of started to get some traction too. And then I was like, well, if I really want to help people, I should talk to all the best people in the industry. And that turned into a podcast. And those platforms turned into a business sort of inadvertently. So that's kind of how the path wove to get to where I'm at now.
Dude, that sounds amazing.
It's amazing looking back on it. It was a little bit of a rough ride there for a while, but looking back is like, I don't think I'd want to do it again, but I also wouldn't change it.
Yeah. What made you decide to do laundry? Just out of curiosity, what made you do specifically laundry matting? Because I just feel like it's just such a interesting, but also like no one would really expect you to go into an industry like that, especially from someone from you.
Yeah. And nobody did expect us to go into that. I knew nothing about business at the time. I knew nothing about laundromats. I knew nothing about real estate investing. I didn't know anything about anything. Like, I was a pastor for 15 years. So I knew stuff about that, but that was about it. And so, I was looking for jobs at the time because that's the only thing I knew. I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family, and right. I was just kind of looking to see what the next job was going to be. And we just happened upon this family friend who bought a laundromat, and it just sounded intriguing to us. And, the dream, right, of money coming in that's not tied to your time. And we're like, well, this is great, because one of the goals was to be able to spend some more time with the kids and, help the wife at home more often, and doing more at home and stuff. So that was a dream of like income coming in, not tied to my time. Yes, I'll put some time into it, but, it didn't necessarily have to be a full-time gig. So that's why we went that way.
Wow. That's super interesting. And I guess like for people like running, especially a laundromat, like what does it take to actually run it? Because I'm actually kind of curious. Like I've seen I've seen people spend their hours and hours a day just like running a whole place, but then I've seen people like not there at all. So it's kind of like funny. Like I never know what the actual whole operation looks like.
Yeah. Well, laundromats are this funny little business, right? Because there's different ways they're so simple, and they're I wouldn't call them easy necessarily. I don't think any business is easy, especially businesses that deal with a lot of people, which laundromats obviously deal with a lot of people.
Right.
But they're very simple, right? But you can run laundromats. One of the big surprises of the podcast that I started was, as I started interviewing these owners, I realized there's lots of people running laundromats different ways. They have different business models, right?
Wow.
And the big ones are what we think of self-serve laundry, where people come in and do their laundry. There's this whole other side of it too, of service. The service side of the laundry business, where people drop off their clothes and you wash them, dry them, fold them for them. They come back and pick them up, and even pick up and delivery, where a laundromat will go out and pick them up from your front porch or from your business, and take them back and then bring them back to you clean and folded. So in terms of operations, if you have a self-serve laundry, it's really the basics, right? It's like keeping the machines running, keeping the place as clean as possible. Helping customers out with the problems they have. And you can do that either by being there or having somebody there, or there's lots of technology now that can help you monitor things and solve problems remotely. So you don't have to be there as often. If you've got the service side of the business, then, it adds a whole lot more components to it, right? You've got a little bit more customer service. People are entrusting you with their clothes, which, if you think about it, our clothes not only are probably thousands of dollars worth of clothes we're handing people when we're doing laundry, but it's also an extension of like their identity, right? So they're giving you something that's part of them. And so you want to make sure you're taking really good care of it. So there's a logistics side of it, making sure everything gets cleaned properly, but also that, the people who gave you the clothes get everything they gave you back, and it doesn't go to somewhere else or get lost or, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, and some people run their businesses by sitting there all day and piddling around. And some people prefer to automate as much as possible, looking for that time freedom, like I was talking about.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I'm sure you've probably been to hundreds, if not thousands of laundromats. So
yeah.
What do you think people run into in terms of like mistakes that have happened in a laundromat, like either running it or the operation of it? Like, what do you think people run into when running a business like that?
Yeah, well, even before all that, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword over here, is like laundromats are mostly still cash businesses. And so the valuation of them can be a little bit tricky, and the due diligence on a laundromat can be a little bit tricky, because I kind of half joke, although it's not really a joke, that laundromat owners are either really bad at keeping the books, or they don't even have books, or they're really good at keeping the books. Like maybe they have more than one book that they have there, right? And so it can be really difficult to acquire a laundromat at the right price. So that's the first place people can go wrong. But after that, I mean, upkeeping, equipment's expensive, and upkeeping the equipment's expensive. And sometimes, you get that mindset where you see money going out and it gets frustrating to spend more money on equipment and stuff. But once you start to kind of let that stuff go, you start to get that reputation in the community where, oh man, like I'm playing roulette over here, washing machine roulette. If I put my coins in, is the machine going to work or not going to work?
Yeah.
And then you start losing customers, not keeping the place clean. Like, who wants to come and clean their clothes and leave not feeling clean because the place isn't clean, right? Mm-hmm. So, basic stuff like that is what you run into. And then, depending on where you're at, and how you run your business, you can deal with, homeless people trying to camp out there, that kind of stuff. If you're not careful, it's easy to slip into that too.
Right. It's so interesting too, because I can just see, like, I haven't been in a laundromat in a while, but it's kind of interesting when you kind of walk in, you just see how much randomness there is in an actual laundromat, like just people folding, putting things away, taking it out. And there's a person at the front desk, like organizing, trying to like put the books there. It's kind of like a interesting operation, almost like do you ever see those stores or like those like places where they make clothes, like a factory, and it kind of looks like I wouldn't say a sweatshop, but it's kind of like a sweatshop a little bit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think that's a pretty common, view of laundromats. However, we're starting to see a lot of transformation in this industry. People are starting to realize, hey, if I invest in the community, they're going to reinvest back in me, and I'm going to make more money, and I'm going to serve them better. So having larger, kind of more open, more space laundromats, where it's not quite so sweatshoppy, and having air conditioning so it's not literally sweatshoppy, and having nicer, folding tables and, flooring and all that stuff, to where it feels, the way I like to look at it is like laundry is a home chore, right? So a laundromat is kind of an extension of people's homes. And if you think of it through that lens, which I think a lot of people don't think of it through that lens, but if you do, then you want to make it feel homey. You want to make it feel comfortable. Like, nobody really likes doing laundry anyway. So why not make it as painless as you possibly can make it for people? Yeah. And they'll appreciate it and reward you accordingly.
Yeah. What do you think attracts people the most? I think you kind of briefly touched upon it. What do you think attracts people the most to an actual laundromat?
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot. If it's clean, if it's bright, if it feels safe, and if machines are working, and it's convenient, like those are the main things that will attract people. And really, that's, in a lot of markets, like, that's the bar. If you can achieve those things, you're probably going to kill it. You're going to do really well, because there's so many owners. It's a mom and pop industry. There's so many owners that aren't running their businesses that way. And so the bar is really low. But if you're in a more competitive market, then maybe you need to up your game. Maybe you need to have, promotions that really attract people. You need to do, some bigger gestures to really compete for those customers.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because I can just imagine the work that goes into it. And actually, I can see also that, but also I can see at the same time that how much cash flow people get from actually a laundromat. Like, obviously, you don't have to tell me what the cash flow you get from your laundromat, but you probably would need multiple ones just to maintain something, because I feel like not just one would do it, but more, you'd have to have a series of them, right?
Yeah, well, it really depends. So, just to kind of give you ballpark, your average sort of base hit laundromat deal, you're just going to go out there, you're going to buy one that's basically turnkey and it's cash flow now. You're looking at a 20 to 25% return on your money day one. And that's without using leverage. That's without using a loan. And so if you actually lever that up, those numbers go up even further, which, makes it a pretty, especially considering you can run your average laundromat in 5 to 10 hours a week once you get it all set up, correctly. So that's a pretty good return on your investment, but also a pretty good return on your time there. And, in terms of needing multiple, one thing that I have found to be true is that probably around 99% of America could replace their 9-to-5 job income with 1 to 3 laundromats. Wow. So for example, I had a consulting client last week who was buying a laundromat. It was self-serve only laundromat, one attendant there at all times. But it was netting $100,000 a month from this one laundromat. So that's pretty good. I take that all day, every day. Yeah. But obviously there's other laundromats that net a whole lot less than that.
Sure. Yeah. I guess it's also too, like, I could see also as a business owner, you want to look at location too. Like, the places that you put an actual laundromat can depend on how much you're actually making and generating. Because, like, if it's in the middle of nowhere, I can see no one really goes there.
Yeah. Just like real estate, location is critical, right? Like, you've got to be in that convenient spot where it's easy for people to get to. You've got to be around the right people, the right demographics for the business model that you're operating.
Right. What do you find is the easiest way to actually run, like, as a CEO and founder? Like, I don't know how much time you actually spend in an actual laundromat, but like, how, like, in terms of, for people who are listening who are like CEOs and founders, they're like, I want to expand, I want to like now branch out to like different zones. Maybe they don't have their own laundromat, but maybe they have other stores like that. Like, how would you suggest to people in terms of getting their own thing? Like, just they're branching out, and how do you get out of that office and actually let the laundromat or place do the work?
Yeah, well, and that's key, right? I think as business owners, it's really, a lot of us, if you're starting from scratch, a lot of us start from a place where we do everything, right? We do, we're the ones sweeping the floor. We're the ones doing the sales calls. We're the ones, doing the books. We're doing everything, right? Every job. And it's really easy, I think, to get stuck in that. It's really hard to shift from I'm the one who does everything to, okay, I'm going to bring somebody else on to take on this task and this task and this task, and to give up control over something that, we've worked really hard for, blood, sweat, and tears, to build, and it's ours, and we have a lot of pride in it. It's really hard to give over some of that stuff. However, if you're ever going to scale to any kind of level beyond, 1, 2, maybe 3 locations of any business, really, you have got to bring other people on and give them responsibility in your business, and, give them guidance as much as you can, give them guidelines, give them, metrics to hit and all that stuff. But you've got to give that over so that you can free up your time and your kind of mental space also to be able to think about how to actually expand. And, this process, building a business, is, and I see this for Laundromat. I tell my consulting clients this all the time. Yes, it's awesome. Laundromats are awesome. They can be a great investment, a great business to be in. But it's not about money, really. It is about money, right? We're trying to make money, but this is really a process of becoming who we're meant to be, right? This is a growth process for us personally. And in order to scale, you have got to intentionally grow. You've got to grow. So you've got to learn, but you've also got to step out of your comfort zone and do new things and give responsibility to other people so that you can take on bigger and bigger tasks. So if you're going to scale, you've got to focus your time, effort, energy on the tasks that will help you scale, not on sweeping the floors.
Right. What do you find is the most, I guess, in your eyes, what do you find, like, if you were to list like 5 to 6 different things, or actually let's say 4 to 5 different things, like what do you think, what are the top reasons or top things that could create a successful branching of either laundromats or other places like that, or other things like that? Let's say, I don't know, let's say even just stores in general. Like, what do you think would be the success in terms of getting those done?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing you have to start with is the vision, right? Like, I think you have to have a very clear vision. Periodically I go through the book Vivid Vision. If you haven't read it, it's great. It's a real small book, but it's all about creating a vivid image of where you're trying to go and putting a lot of detail into it and essentially kind of living that vision in your head before it becomes reality. And you've got to be very clear on where you're going in order to get there. Otherwise, you end up a lot of times just kind of wandering around, not really aiming at anything. That vision is huge. And in order to create like a vivid vision, you have to like have space for that. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're asking me like, what does freedom mean to you? And I said, freedom means space to me, space to think, space to be creative, space to build, space to create a vision. Right. And you need that space. So creating a vision, to aim at is number one, I think. And, and the why behind all of that vision too is huge. Start with Why, another great book.
Yeah.
So I think you need the vision. And then once you have the vision, it's about, execution. And like I said, a lot of us, we start off, we are the ones executing on all of the tasks. But then once you're ready to start scaling, you have got to, again, evolve, because you go from, I think of the E-Myth, right? And you go from being the technician, being the one doing the things, to now you're being a leader of people who are doing the things, right? And that's a whole different skill set. Sweeping the floor is one skill set, fixing a washing machine or doing a sales call, those are skill sets, but leading people to do those things is another skill set. So you got to evolve again. I think that leadership development is another aspect that you've got to evolve into and grow as you progress there.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting you mentioned about leadership and just evolving. Like, you got to kind of, I wouldn't say grow up, but kind of have to get to a point where like you have to take, you kind of have to put your fear aside and actually just do it. Cause like sometimes people are just too scared to actually take the next level or do the next step. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. There's this movie called The Founder. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah.
The whole growth of McDonald's and like how it became like just a really small thing in LA or California. And then they were actually too afraid to actually grow because they were afraid of like the changing their whole formula. And And all of a sudden, it's like this one dude, I forget his name, something Kroc.
Ray Kroc. Yeah.
Ray Kroc. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ray Kroc just kind of goes in and is just like, I want to make this into like a real big thing. Like I want to make it like a church of every town, like kind of like that big idea. Right. And it's like what you mentioned about it's a vision. It all starts with the vision first. And he just sort of took off and made it like a real estate. Then it became a restaurant that he bought it. And then that was kind of the end of it. But it was cool about the fear because I know people are afraid to change or do things that are new to them because they don't know what's going to happen. And I guess like nowadays everything's sort of automatic. Like it's sort of like things just get done for them. Like, is it actually even possible in the laundry industry to actually have things automatic? Do you think?
Yeah. So for sure, it's funny is like for decades we didn't really have new innovation in our industry. They pretty much look the same, forever. Maybe we got a little bit bigger machines. Maybe they got a little bit more efficient, but as of now, like finally we're starting to get both software and hardware to help us manage our businesses, gather more data and to be able to use that data to make better business decisions, and manage remotely. So we've got software that'll tell us when our machines break down, or we can remote start from our phones or computers. If there's a problem, we can just tell a customer, hey, throw it in the machine next to it and we'll start it up over here for free. There's a lot of laundromats that are starting to get rid of accepting coins and are accepting cards like credit cards or loyalty cards. And again, that's a better experience, as inflation's hitting all of us, right? If you're paying $10, for a wash on a really big machine, that's 40 quarters. You'd be sitting there half the day feeding that machine with quarters, right? Or one tap with your card, right? So you got a lot of capabilities to automate. You got camera systems where you can do two-way communication now. Right. So there's a lot of things that can help you sort of automate your business so that you can manage a little bit more remotely.
Right. Is there anything that you think that can't be actually automated? It's just, do you think at some point it will be almost automatic, like the whole actual industry, or do you think there's some things that just can't?
I think they'll probably. That's a good question. I think if I was to guess right now, I think there'll probably be two diverging paths. I think there'll be some models where it goes to, everything is automated. There's an iPad screen on the wall, and it connects with an AI avatar and answers your questions, right? And then I think there'll be another kind of branch that branches off the other way that's like very high touch, customer service based. And I think there's probably room for both of those to go there.
Yeah, I can see it now. Like in 30 years from now, it's going to be like a Tesla version of a laundromat. It's just going to be like all automatic. You just drop it off. You just swipe your car and just everything is done for you. And they tell you. They either pick it up for you, they drop it off for you. That's kind of like, I can see that it's like the ultimate type of, laundry experience.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than 30 years out. But that sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah. Like, remember they were talking about like, they had those those drones that just fly out and just actually drop off or pick up something. I mean, I could see that coming soon where it's like, now it's going to be laundry, you're dropping off and picking up laundry. So
that's right.
You need to leave your house.
I like that.
Yeah. So I guess like it's so fascinating, like just how just everything sort of like is now done for you. Like nowadays it's like, I live in Jersey. I don't know if what part of California you live in, but like in Jersey there's so many laundromats here, but they're all like what's the right word? Ghetto, I think is the right word.
Yeah, like we call them zombie mats. That's what we call them, zombie mats.
Yeah. So they're like they're all run by Spanish, right? They're all Spanish, and the laundromats aren't great. They're still taking quarters, they're all like all about that. And then the laundromats are like they're all like kind of doing it. They have the laundry bags all on the top shelves and everything like that. It's like kind of like I can see the appearance, like people don't want to go to that.
Yeah. Well, if you have an option where you have a little bit more space, room to breathe, things are a little more convenient, a little cleaner, and a little more friendly, and you got a choice to go to one or the other, you're going to go to the better one. Right. And, that's where the Laundromat Resource platform, is coming in, where I'm really trying to help. My mission has evolved in this whole process here. Right. Yeah. My first mission was, financial freedom. And then I was like, well, I want to help other people achieve financial freedom too.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of started things. And then it sort of evolved to like a third level where I'm like, if I can help you run a better business in your community, just like you're saying, like in New Jersey, where you have all these, overstuffed, overfilled laundromats that aren't the best experience. And I can help you or somebody, create a better experience for the community, that I'm playing a very small part in helping transform communities across America and across the world, really. And for me, that's super motivating. And it's a unique benefit, I think, to laundromats where you have ability to make pretty good money doing something good for a community, which I love, man. I think that's a great aspect of this industry.
Right. Because you get to give back something that everyone loves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you find out, in business that when you take care of people, people take care of you, right? So if you show them that you care about them and you respect them, they're by and large, they're going to show you the same with their dollars.
Now, do you only work in the California area, like your laundromats and other things are only in California, or do you do other places around the world?
Personally, I'm only in California, but I'm helping people kind of all over the country and all over the world with their businesses too. My podcast obviously goes out to everywhere, and my consulting is all over the place. So I've got it's a really interesting kind of position I found myself in, where I get like an inside peek into what's going on all over the country, all over the world in our industry in a way that not very many people get to. So it's pretty cool perspective I get.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing when you become a laundromat expert, and it's just like you're like the laundry guy that like people think of when like all of a sudden there you like, who do you think of when there's a laundromat? It's Jordan for sure.
Yeah. I think right now it's Cody Sanchez, so I got to dethrone her in our industry.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. It's kind of, sometimes it can be tough. I can agree to that, but
yeah.
I wonder if like if laundry, because laundry obviously is done in obviously a place. Like, do you think like for you, especially as a business owner, like, do you create products based on the laundromat services?
No, I mean, I've definitely kicked around the ideas of doing my own, like soap brands or, software, stuff like that. I haven't, necessarily pulled the trigger on any of that stuff, but I think some of that stuff is coming. I think it's in the works. But I haven't delved into that yet, but I have, obviously sold other brands and other products. Cause one thing that's interesting about laundromats is they can be like, I often call it like the world's best side gig, right? Cause you can make pretty good money on very little time, but laundromats also have the potential to have a whole bunch of side gigs within the side gig, right? You can have ATM machines, you can have vending machines, you can have all kinds of stuff, quarter pushers, like everything in there. So you can have a whole bunch of different little income streams within your income stream.
When I was a kid, my parents would take me to the laundromat. Like I think my mother would, and I would always go on the, those, I forget the name of it. They're like like you see in the arcades, and like this, like the claw, and they pick up the prize.
Oh yeah.
There's like the rocking horses.
The horse, yeah.
You had all of those over there, and I could see like how that could help with income wise, like what it could stream so much more instead of just like a laundry service, because you could provide so much,
Yeah, all that stuff adds up too. I mean, couple grand here, couple grand there. It adds up. And, I think it's pretty surprising at how good of a business you can have on a quarter business,
Yeah, totally. So I guess like for your laundry service and like your laundry, because you've helped a lot of people, especially in your community, or you've helped people in different areas as a business owner, could you give me some success stories? I'd love to hear some success stories from you, either from your business or from your laundromat or whichever, on how you've helped them.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've sort of built the business around is helping people. So, I mean, I think of Heather, who's in San Francisco. She just closed on her laundromat like 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
And we went through this whole process with the landlord, who the landlord wanted somebody with experience, and so we were able to kind of communicate like, hey, I've got a lot of experience. I'm not owner in the business, but she's hired me to help her navigate this. So we put together a whole game plan and a pitch to the landlord. And the landlord was like, yeah, didn't bat an eye on it. She was able to get some grants from the city of San Francisco. So she got a bunch of brand new machines, and she was able to do a lot of her renovations on government grant money in order to comply with ADA stuff. And so she got this laundromat for very, very little money out of her pocket and was able to, retool it and rehab it for no money out of her pocket, and has flung open the doors. And, we just got off a call yesterday, and she is she's killing it. She's tripled the income in 6 weeks. She's tripled the income of that laundromat just from doing that. And her original intention of buying it was just to make an extra, $1,000 or $2,000 a month to supplement her income. And now she's on the prowl for her next one, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how just the weird things we do in life just makes us so much money. It's like amazing. Like, I'll give an example. I was telling someone this on another podcast, on another episode of a podcast, and they were talking about, like I make like $300. I know someone who made $300 an hour just for cuddling somebody. I don't know if you've ever seen those professional cuddlers.
Cuddling?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm gonna hire my dog out. He's a good cuddler.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good, man. Well, I really appreciate the time that you've given us in actually answering a lot of questions and kind of going over about how to run a laundromat, which I'm, I never really asked myself, but it's really interesting to kind of find out. I'm really curious. And I feel like I got a lot of questions answered in like how people actually do it. So that's kind of interesting. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the time that you've given us and given a lot of us just to kind of understand how it works. So I guess before we end off here, like where's for people who want to kind of get to know you, maybe they want to own their own laundromat. Hey, they want to work with you, or they're very curious more about like how to actually do it themselves. Where's a good place to reach out to you or your team, whichever works for you?
Yeah. So laundromatresource.com is the best place. You can get our contact information there. You can get to all of our stuff from there, laundromatresource.com, or just Google Laundromat Resource.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. And of course, I thank everyone for listening to this channel. If you guys like this stuff, please like and subscribe to this. And of course, if you guys want to definitely participate in the show, you can definitely reach out to me at www.commandyourbrand.com/book-a-call. We'll book some time to talk. And of course, you will check out our new book. We actually have a podcasting book to kind of check out, and also a masterclass. So you can definitely check that out too. So I'll see you guys next time. And Jordan, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thanks for having me on.